In 2016, a new TV show hit the digital airwaves and needed a podcast dedicated to chronicling its adventures. An elite team has been assembled for this task. Unfortunately, the world's listeners have not heard of this wonder twin duo. And although they may not be known now, in the future they will be referred to as tomorrow's legends.
Hi, you're listening to Tomorrow's Legends. This is 2046 Oliver Queen. I am missing an arm, and I'm speaking through a goatee that itches my face. That doesn't mean that I'm not a badass, and that doesn't mean you shouldn't listen to this podcast. In fact, you should. In fact, I insist. Listen to the podcast.
How is that to start off our second season, Harley?
That's amazing.
That is amazing. It was so gracious of Stephen Amell to do that for me. I had a few moments with him here at the Edmonton Expo, and it was just cool. I mean, he could have said no. He could have said, no, I don't do anything like that, but he was nice enough to do that, and he even did one for Aero Squad, which I'm not sure if you heard or not yet. It was in there.
I did hear that one. Yeah, that was so cool.
So it's pretty cool. Well, welcome back, everybody. It's season 2.
It is season 2. Yay! I'm so excited.
So am I. Legends of Tomorrow. Here we go. It's awesome. It's been a long summer.
It has been a long summer.
It has. But before we get into it, I do have one other little expo story I just wanted to share with our fans, because we're involved in these TV shows and the comic book world and stuff like that. So, a lot of people know that I work the video team. I run the video team for the expos up here, which is like Comic-Con. And I get to meet and hang out with a lot of the celebrities behind the scenes, Stephen Amell being one of them. But I have a neat little story. I don't know how many of our listeners watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I know it's Marvel, but you watch it, right, Harley?
I do, yeah. I'm a couple episodes behind, but I do watch it.
It's Marvel is definitely kicking some butt. That is one amazing show. If you aren't watching it, it's one I think that's worth catching up on, because it's at the point right now where each episode is almost like a mini movie. It's very interconnected to the Marvel movie universe, and it's just so well done. Anyway, I got to meet Elizabeth Henstridge, who plays Agent Simmons, the scientist. And I have a neat little experience with her, because I went with Patty Spivot to get our photo op with her. And I don't know if any of you have been to the photo ops at these cons, how they work. It's very fast. You have seconds with these celebrities. You're in line. They're trying to get through hundreds and hundreds of people to get through as many pictures as they can within that 1 hour time slot. So you basically go in, you get to say hi, you pose, click, good, out you go. And the way it's set up is the photographer's got his camera there on the tripod, and then beside him he's got a big monitor. So he takes a look at the picture, because the monitor's connected to the camera. So he takes a quick look to make sure the picture came out, gives you the thumbs up, and sends you on your way. So you just, like I said, you have moments. Anyway, so being the team lead, I get to be front of the line, because I've got duties to perform. So me and Patty Spivot got to get in there first. First ones to meet her. And she's super sweet and super cute in person. You have no idea. She's just amazing. We walk in there. I ask if I can give her a hug. She says, sure. She gives me a big hug. I introduce her to Patty, and she gives her a hug. And, she goes to give us the typical family portrait, just put her arms around us and smile. And I said, wait. Can we kind of do your Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. pose? We'll kind of be at your side with our arms crossed, and you kind of be in the middle. And she said, yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, how about if I do this and this? And as she's talking, and she's kind of waving her thumbs around, the photographer snaps the picture. And none of us were really prepared for it. We weren't really looking at the camera. And I was like, what is, and Elizabeth herself says, I don't know if I was even ready for that. Were you ready for that? And I said, no, I wasn't. And the photographer, I was watching him, he looks at the monitor, gives us a thumbs up, and we get ushered out. And I'm like, okay. I said, well, nice to meet you, Elizabeth, and maybe I'll come see you later at your autograph booth. And we run out of there. Now, when you leave the photo op area, it's like a labyrinth of curtains, because they want the celebrities to be all very well hidden. They don't want anyone to be able to get in there. So it's like a labyrinth. And me and Patty had gotten through 2 hallways of curtains, and we heard this little voice behind us going, "Hey, wait, come back." And we turn around, and it's Elizabeth herself chasing us.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, through the labyrinth. And not the volunteers that are working there, not the photographer, not her assistants, it's her. And she comes running up to us. She goes, "Okay, I don't feel like that turned out. I don't want you guys to be disappointed. Come back. Let's redo this. Let's get a good one. I just feel like that. I just don't think that's going to turn out." I'm like, "Oh my God, like that is so awesome." And you go, "So what are you doing chasing us through the curtains?" And she laughs, and, we kind of a little chuckle, and we get back in her post. She held up, there's probably 600 people waiting to get their picture done with her. She held all of them up to come chasing us down. Aww. And we redid the picture, and I said, "Oh my, I can't believe you did that. Can I give you another hug?" And she says, "Yes." And she gives me a great big hug. And I just said that was just amazing. So we leave, and we go to the area where you pick up your pictures. And sure enough, both of them had come out, and they gave us the good one, and it was a great picture. And I posted it on our page. I'm sure everybody's seen it by now. And, they also showed us the first one, and they wouldn't give it to us. I would love to have shown everybody. But have you ever had when someone takes a picture of you when you're in the middle of talking and you've got that really, really grotesque, deformed face?
Yep.
Yeah. That's what this looked like for her. She looked like she was on drugs and totally out of it. I've got this weird, not even looking at the camera kind of expression. Poor Patty Spivot, she's just about trying to make a smile, but it looked awful, and I can't believe that the photographer gave that the thumbs up.
I can't believe that. That's crazy.
Yeah, because imagine that, with how fast everything goes through, that would have been the picture we would have been stuck with that we paid $65 for. And once it's all through, there's no way you can get it done again, kind of thing. So that would have sucked. So all because of Elizabeth. She saved the picture, gave us a second chance. She's amazing.
Oh, well, that's really sweet of her. That's really cool that she did that.
It is. It is so sweet. And then to finish the story, later on in the day, at the end of the day, she was only there for the one day. We went to find her at her autograph booth. We had heard that she was doing one last half-hour session of signing her autographs. So we went running over there to see if we could catch her so we could thank her in person and show her the picture. And we waited for the last few fans to sign autographs, and her assistant's like, we gotta go, she gotta go, she's catching her plane in 45 minutes, yada, yada, whatever. I said, but we need to thank her for, and I explained the whole situation to her assistant, and her assistant's like, "Oh, yeah, okay, that's a really good idea. Okay." And she went over to call Elizabeth, and Elizabeth looked at us, recognized us right away. She comes running up, "Oh, you guys, I'm so glad it all worked out." And I showed her a picture, and she rips the picture out of my hand, and she goes, "What are your names again?" I said, "Martin, Lisa." She starts signing it, and she autographed it for free.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. And then, so again, we said we just wanted to come thank you in person, because it was such a sweet, wonderful thing you did, and you made our show. This was the best moment. She's, "Oh, I'm so glad you guys," and she gave us both hugs again. We said, have a safe flight, and thanks for coming, and off you go. And that's my Elizabeth Henstridge story.
That is a great story. I love that story. And I love her for doing that.
It has made me a bigger fan. That the first couple episodes of this new season, I'm just watching, "Oh, there she is. And I'm suddenly a fan of her character even more, so.
I bet.
Legendaires, go watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. if you can. It's a good show. All right, Harley. Shall we get on to this?
Yeah, let's get into it. We've got a lot to discuss, I think.
We got a lot to discuss, and oh man, we are back. It is so good to be back. I don't know, the summer seems to go a lot longer when you run a podcast, because we see all the news that's coming out, and we're not talking regularly about the show yet, so it just made the summer go on so long. Did you have that feeling?
Yes, I had a very long, very different summer for me.
Yes.
So I had a lot of changes in my life. So in some respects, it was kind of just like one big, long day. But yeah, in another respects, it went kind of fast, and I was almost like, wow, I can't believe fall TV is coming back already. This is crazy. And how am I going to fit all of this into my schedule? with a new baby.
You're going to have to teach that baby how to watch TV with you.
Yeah, that's not going so well right now.
No. But how cool is it to have Mr. Arrow himself kick off our show with his little intro, and then to have him also kick off the new season of our show?
I like that. I like that we were able to pull that off without knowing what was going to happen.
Well, maybe I knew. Maybe I had it planned all along. I told you I have behind-the-scenes access, right?
That's true. Did you really know that he was going to be on the first episode? Oh, okay.
But we'll just let everyone think that I knew.
Oh, okay. Well, then cut this part out. So.
So, all right. How about we give us some ratings, Harley, and then give me your rating and your general impression of the show, season 2, episode 1, entitled "Out of Time."
All right. My rating was 9 even creepier German Damien Darks. And overall, it's just really good to be back. I mean, I thought it was a really solid premiere, and I really liked the new intro. When I heard that it was Martin Stein, I was like, oh, this is awesome. And then I was like, wait, why is he doing that? And then I sort of get the answer. But
Yeah.
That episode was fun. It kind of kept me guessing until the very end. And I was even actually a little sad when we didn't find Rip at the end. I thought he was going to appear up until the very, last seconds of the show, and then he didn't. So that'll be interesting to see what they do with that. And then I liked how they introduced Heywood. So I want to know how he's going to become Citizen Steel, because I don't think he has any powers right now. I mean, he might. It's not like we've seen anything, but I kind of want to see what's going to happen with that. And then the last note, with Oliver, I liked how he introed it. I think a lot of people, there were some really mixed emotions in our Facebook group about this, but I thought that it served its purpose. It established that Legends and Arrow are definitely the same universe, that they're coming together. I think it's going to help with the crossover when all of a sudden, we have, characters from 3 other different shows kind of coming in. I think they're going to have to little by little just establish that they belong by doing these little mini crossovers. So it worked for me. I mean, it was fun to have him on the show.
Okay.
What did you think?
I gave it 8. How many characters can we fit into one episode?
Okay, that's fair.
What a fun start. It was light, it was fast, it was comical. And yes, Stein being the voice of the intro, I loved it. And how he did a quick description of each character was a nice touch. But I did feel they tried to fit in too much. With everything they presented, it could have been stretched out to a 3-episode arc, especially with rescuing the team at the end, and I'll get more into that later. But I think if they did stretch it out, it would have brought more drama and more seriousness, so I'm not sure what they were going for. So I spoke on Arrow Squad in one of my feedbacks to them that I was doing a 4 DC show premiere tally as to which show had the best start this season.
I love that.
So I'm going to start from the bottom. This was just something I came up with since we've got 4 DC shows. I just thought it'd be fun to kind of compare them against each other as we go along. So starting at the bottom, coming in at number 4 as the worst premiere was Gotham.
Okay.
And I won't say too much about him. I mean, we can a little bit, but I just found that the premiere episode of Gotham was a mess. It was just so much disconnection and jumbled up stuff. It had no flow to it. Although now that it's 4 episodes in, because it started way earlier on the shows, its 3rd and 4th episodes were really good. And the 4th episode I thought was fantastic. So it's getting better.
That's good.
Then at number 3 is actually a tie between our show Legends and Flash. They both were good, but I'll talk more about it later. It's the fact that they both started off with a couple characters sitting around a table telling the tale of the episode, and then we got flashbacks to show us the story that they're talking about. I'll get more into that later. But that's why they kind of came in tied for 3. Number 2 goes to Supergirl, which is new to the CW. I thought it was a lot of fun. They introduced Superman on the show. He was a great, very Christopher Reeve-like portrayal. Just a lot of fun. It was really good. And leading the way with the best premiere this season was Arrow, which I think is great for that show, as it really needed to get the attention put back into it by the showrunners. I mean, after all, if it wasn't for Arrow, we would not have all these other DC shows.
That is true. That's very true.
Mm-hmm. Now, you watched the Arrow premiere, did you not?
I have watched all of the premieres except for Supergirl because I am, as previously stated, I'm not watching Supergirl. I've got too much on my plate and I can't keep up with it. So
no, fair enough. Well, would you agree with my assessment of the other 3 then? Where would you put them?
I definitely agree with the fact that Arrow is number 1. I think it was the strongest premiere, and it brought us back to season 1, 2 of Arrow, which was awesome. And we're getting the Bratva, and I'm really, really excited about that. I can't even contain myself. I'm so excited about that. But this is not the Arrow podcast.
No.
So I won't keep going on. But the flashbacks are going to be good this year, and I'm really happy about it.
And that's okay. Like, this is why I want to talk a bit about it right now, because we did say one of the requests was that we talk a little bit about Flash and Arrow.
That's
so
true.
I know it's okay. A couple minutes here is not a big deal.
Well, so that was my thoughts on Arrow. I would say, well, I didn't watch Supergirl, of course, so I can't really weigh in on that one. I do like that they've introduced Superman. If I ever get time to go back and watch it, I think I'll be pretty excited about that.
Yeah, you will be.
Yeah.
Trust me, partner. You'll like it.
Okay. I think I would put, based on that, I think I would put Legends at number 2 and Flash at number 3. And I'm going to agree with you with Gotham at number 4. While I didn't hate it as much, well, not that you hated it, but I didn't dislike it as much as you did. But I definitely think that Legends and Flash were stronger. And based on I kind of agree with your assessment of Legends and Flash both. They both tried to put a lot of stuff into one episode. They both treated things in flashback format and did some goofy kind of storytelling things. But I think that Legends had me more excited, and by the end of it, I don't know, I liked it better by the end than I did with Flash. When we got to the end of the Flash, I was kind of like, okay, that was it? And then, okay, so these random things, I don't know, it was kind of weird. I had mixed emotions about Flashpoint.
Fair enough, and you may have just swayed me a little bit more to maybe give Legends the official 3rd spot, just because I think we are definitely more attached to Legends in that sense because it's our show. Mm-hmm. So maybe I agree with you on that, I think. Yeah, and as much as I hate to admit it, since we do podcast about Legends, Arrow's the stronger show, and it definitely had the strongest premiere. Yeah. So. Well, cool. Well, good. Hey, you know what? We're starting off the season pretty much in tune with each other. That's good. Yeah, that'll probably change as we go. We'll see. But for right now. Okay. So before we get too far in, I think based on how they started this season, we might want to remind viewers that Legends, I don't think, should be taken too seriously. They're obviously going to be the comical child of the DC family, poking fun at themselves, not taking themselves too seriously. I mean, you and me and our listeners, we can easily rip it apart for all the time travel hijinks and plot holes that ensue because of the time travel. Mm-hmm. But then I don't think we would enjoy it as much. Sure, you and me, Harley, we love to figure out all the timey-wimey stuff, and we're going to continue to do so. But I think I want to just remind everyone to not expect too much realism or everything to make sense, because we want to have fun this season. We love our show, and we want our listeners to enjoy it right alongside us. Is that fair enough to ask? I think so. I mean, it's the nature of this show. It's going to be more comic booky. There's a lot more handwave. Kind of the same thing with Flash. I love the time travel elements in both shows, but when you try and get into the nitty gritty, there's a lot of holes and a lot of weird things going on. So you gotta kind of just leave it alone as much as you can. And it's way too much for them to keep track of. I mean, you're going to have those absolutely serious, analytical, observant fans that'll be like, well, way back in season 1, episode 3, at the 5-minute mark, you said this in this location, and now 3 seasons later, it doesn't jive. Why didn't it, like, you can't. They can't keep track of all that stuff. It's going to be impossible.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to, like Podcast Overlord said when he was in here, Legends is just a show to sit back and enjoy. Grab your popcorn, grab your chocolate, your whatever, sit back and enjoy it, and try not to think too hard. Let me and Harley do that for you. Let us tear apart the. No, actually, we really love all your theories, all your time travel theories and all that stuff, and that's what we want to hear from you guys, is what you think is going on, so we can discuss it with you and stuff. Let's just have fun with the show. That's the point I'm trying to make. Let's have fun.
Yeah. Hey, that sounds good to me.
So I noticed something, Harley, right off the bat, and I almost wanted to go back in season 1 and see if they did the same thing, but I decided I had to use slow motion replay on my player to see what was going on. Each time during the episode when the location changes and they put up the little graphic, Star City 2016, it first kind of scrambles through other location names and years, like really fast, like 1 per frame of video.
Really?
So yeah, which I don't know why I never noticed it before, but somehow I picked up on it this time. And I thought, what's going on? What are they scrolling past so fast? I better see what that is. So I slowed it right down, and I wrote them all down as I go. So as we go through this episode, I'm just going to quickly rhyme off all of the names and the years because I was curious, and I'm not sure if it actually means anything, if they're trying to hint at something, or if it's just a bunch of gibberish for a cool graphic effect.
I wonder if it's an Easter egg.
Well, yeah, this is why I did it. So I don't know. I'll just go through them every time they come up. I'll go through them, and people can kind of pay attention to the cities, the dates, see if there's a pattern or emerging, if there's something in there. But anyway, the very first time it came up, it went Cairo, 1142. Seoul City, 1908, Rome, 1311, Coast City, 1877, Algiers, 1669, River City, 1772, Vienna, 1532, Helsinki, 1499, and Star City, 2016 is where we ended up. So that's a lot. Like I said, it was 1 name and date per frame of video. That's how fast it goes through.
Wow, that's crazy.
And when you watch it in normal playback, it basically is like, drink. Done. That's it. It's so quick.
Yeah, I definitely don't think I've ever noticed it before. I mean, you know how sometimes when they like will type out some, like the effect of something typing out? I think that's what I always thought that was. I never slowed it down and figured, I wonder if they did that all last season.
That's what I'm almost going to look at an old episode and see if they did. But anyway.
Interesting.
There's the first list, and it happens, I think, 3 more times.
Oh my
gosh. See if there's a pattern.
That's cool.
All right. So you like our introduction of one of our new characters, Dr. Heywood.
Yeah, so I thought it was fun. It was kind of a fun way to introduce a new character, and it brought Green Arrow into our current timeline of Legends. I know that there were some people that kind of had some issues, I think, with the way this was done. But, I mean, I just thought it was a good way to quickly establish who Oliver Queen is, how he's connected to the Legends. At this point, Legends was a spinoff of now 2 DC shows, and I guess now 1 of 4. And so I feel like there's probably a very small amount of Legends viewers that are not already watching Arrow and Flash. But I feel like this did a good job to just kind of quickly get them in the loop of this is how, they're all connected. And, it's cool. It's good to have a historian on board, a time detective, as he calls himself. I loved that.
That was pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, and especially if Rip is gone. I mean, we're obviously going to get way into that part, but... if he's really gone, he has been our guide throughout this whole thing. He's been the historian essentially because he's had so much experience with it. So yep. I liked that. And then I thought that you would like this. Do you know how he called out that the Waverider has been seen by all of these different people? Like it's an Egyptian hieroglyphics and all of these things.
Wasn't that one of my biggest nitpicks last season?
Yes, it was. And so I was like, I don't know if other people complain about that as much as we did, or if someone listened to the podcast or what, but they just totally threw that in there. And I am convinced it was all for you.
It must have been. They acknowledged it. So yeah, someone is listening to us. Just having the Waverider flying around will get recorded in history at some time. It has to happen.
I know. Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty funny. But I did like how you answered this point, Harley. I wasn't sure how I felt about Oliver's role. It seemed almost not needed, as he kind of just sat at a table asking redundant questions. So what happened next? So
right.
What did you do? Like, I was like, anybody could have done that. It could have been the ship's maid. And it would have had the same effect.
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure, but you're actually right. It was most likely there to establish connection between the Legends universe and the Arrow universe.
That's what I think.
Yeah. And we love Oliver. I love having him part of our show anyway. He is kind of the seasoned veteran, the leader of everybody on all these other shows. So I like to have him in there. It's good. Kind of brings that feeling in. Mm-hmm. But I'm a little unsure of this having characters tell the tale as we see flashbacks of what they're talking about. Because we already said Flash did that also in its premiere. And I'm just unsure of this storytelling tactic. To me, it often means there's a writer's block or a lack of creativity. And in other shows over the years, it's kind of been a sign of the show slowing down and coming to an end because they're running out of ideas. So I was a little bit worried. Both Flash and Legends only did that for the first couple minutes, and then they completely took off running. So hopefully that was just a one and done kind of idea. I also agree with you. Like Dr. Heywood, he was played by Nick Zano or Zano. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but just excellently portrayed and performed by him. I mean, good comical energy and delivery, his expressions, whether he was surprised or scared or whatever, it was great. I look forward to seeing his character evolve. And since you mentioned him, well, give us a quick reminder of his possible story arc, because we know him to become Citizen Steel, which we discussed in our summer episode. But in brief, Harley, what's going to happen to him? Or would that be too spoilery for people?
No, I don't think so. I mean, we've kind of already talked about it a little bit. So if people have already heard it, I mean, basically what he has like essentially gets like metal in his blood, and it kind of turns him into steel. And so he kind of becomes like almost invincible. I don't think his
skin becomes kind of impenetrable. He's almost invulnerable.
Yeah, exactly.
Because of this metallic property. Gotcha.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, exactly. Like, I think in the comics he loses, I think it's a leg, and then something happens, like, I don't know if it's throughout the surgery or something along the lines when, they give him, like, a prosthetic, and he kind of, like, it goes, like, the metal, like, somehow, like, goes into his blood, and he kind of gets, like, transformed into Citizen Steel. I mean, that's probably a really terrible recap, but that's essentially what's going on, I think.
Well, you covered it pretty good in our summer season episode, so I just wanted a quick little refresher, and we'll see how they do with his character. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. Mm-hmm. I mean, like I said, I don't think he has any sort of powers at all right now. So I'll be interested.
No, I
see
hope
how he
that we
get
to see how he gets. Like, I hope they go through that whole metallic element into his blood system that causes him to get the power. I hope we see that. I mean, when you get introduced to new characters that aren't very well known, I like origin stories, and I want them fleshed out. I don't want a quick, 5-second explanation. No, let's see it. Let's see them grow and develop and see their origin story.
Yeah, definitely. I'm excited for that. So
yeah. Because to me, that allows us to connect to a character. You see where they came from, you see what they've had to go through, and you see the transformation. Or the transition, whatever you want to call it. It's that to me is what attaches you to a character as to whether you're gonna really like them or not.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, yeah, I agree.
All right, what's next?
Well, okay, so after, you've got kind of those intro scenes with Oliver and Dr. Heywood, and then they, get in the salvage ship and they go down and they find the Waverider. So they're kind of like exploring around it and they're like, where are the bodies? Like, if this thing met a nuclear bomb, like, why is it intact and how come, there's not any bodies everywhere? And so they're walking through and eventually they find none other than Mick Rory in stasis. And so I thought this was kind of like a nice callback to the finale last year, because we find out that it's Mick Rory who sent Rex Tyler to stop them from boarding the Waverider in 2016 in the first place. And so I thought at first that was going to come a little bit more full circle and that we were going to get kind of like the start of that. But it sort of did, but it was kind of basically, I think, just like a nod back to the finale to be like, hey, remember this detail kind of thing.
Okay, you got a lot more out of that than I did. I was actually kind of confused. I was wondering why this wasn't taking place soon after how last season ended. So you're kind of saying, like, some time has passed and Rex is gone. We don't know why. Now we're going to go through these time events that lead up to him showing up on the rooftop to say Mick sent him in the finale. Is that what you're kind of getting at? It's going to come full circle in that sense?
That's what I kind of thought at first. But then, I mean, if you kind of, once we start, and this is, because this is all before he starts telling the story and we start seeing any of the flashbacks. So once you start him telling the story, you find out that it's been 6 months since they've met with Rex Tyler. And, because they're time travelers, I mean, this still could play out in a loop still, right? So it could still come full circle with, I doubt they would do the same finale, but it would be interesting if at some point during the season we come back to that. But when you hear them all talking, you find out they've been doing this for 6 months, and then they're like, just kind of going down and tracking down these operations because they've blown up the Time Masters. So This is their new mission. They feel like they need to protect history and, this is what they're doing. And so what we learn is that Rex Tyler, basically all he said to them was he warned them not to go to 1942 and then vanished. So I don't know if that's like a clue that they've changed something, and that's what I mean by it coming back full circle and us seeing that again. I mean, or if he literally just said, don't go to 1942, turns around, jumps on his version of the Waverider and disappears. Because, I mean, that was a pretty interesting scene because we had two Waveriders, and the one that Rex Tyler gets off of and says, oh, you're right where you sent me, you said that you would be. And he's like, me? And he's like, no, you. And he points to Roy or whatever. That's my quick summary of the finale. But then he vanishes. I mean, he probably didn't like literally vanish. But that ship doesn't look like it was going to be able to fly anywhere. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's what we're left with wondering is what happened on that rooftop. Both Waveriders are crashed, and Rex shows up. So do they all get on the Waverider with him and they take off? They fix the ship, and he's like, "Okay, I'm out of here." And they're off fixing time, and he goes back to the JSA. Like we don't know. Or did he warn them, got back on the ship and left, and they fixed their own Waverider up, and off they went? Like I guess that's part of what this season's story might entail. We'll find that out as we go. Yeah,
we're gonna have to find more information about that because not to jump to the end of the episode, but the very last scene is meeting with the JSA. We know
Rex wasn't there.
He wasn't there, but we know he's a part of the JSA because he said so in the finale. Yeah. So then, is that the reason why he said don't go to 1942 is because this is already played out? Like, you know what I mean? It's a whole big circle. I have so many questions. I could keep talking in circles about this for the next hour, so we should probably move on.
Well, all I can say is Kevin and Brian would be proud because you just jumped to the end of the
I know.
Tangent cast.
You gotta start with the end. God.
They go from there to France to rescue Louis XIII.
Oh, is that 8th? I meant 13th.
Is that Oh.
I don't know.
Sorry, I have not read Roman numerals in a while. You're right. That is Louis XIII.
Is that 13th? Okay, because I don't write them very often, so that could have been wrong on both accounts. But they do say in the episode Louis XIII, regardless of what I wrote. So I loved this. I loved everything about these. I don't know that this is really like one scene per se, but them being in this time period, it was fantastic. I mean, we get to see a new time period right off the bat. They're dressed to period. It's a period episode.
Which was one of what actually was my season-ending nitpick. I want to see more time periods. I want to have some fun. Let's do this.
Yeah, they had a lot of fun in this episode. I swear they listened to our podcast.
Must have.
I mean, they're addressing all of our stuff right in the very first episode. I mean, it's fantastic.
Come on. Who didn't enjoy seeing Heatwave dressed in some fluffy French blouse?
I know. That's one of my quotes. I knew we were in trouble when he made us put on blouses to save the King of France. It's so great. And then I love the Jax. He just like dives off a balcony and then they turn into Firestorm. I mean, that was awesome.
That was so a
cool.
very comic book, super heroic moment. It was just trusting your partner, going for it. Awesomeness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. And then, as soon as they start doing that and they realize that these dudes have laser blasters, everybody's technology just starts coming out and Rip's just like, oh, bloody hell.
It was like, oh my God, so much fun. Mm-hmm. I mean, it had this whole Three Musketeers vibe to it. The swashbuckling sword fighting, the crazy outfits, and the music. I love that type of orchestral fun music that they always do to Three Musketeers.
Yeah.
It was a blast. Just definitely don't think, just sit back and enjoy the fast-paced action and silliness. And Sara, oh my God, jeez.
Right? I know. You just gotta shake your head. You're like, really?
Yeah. But it was funny. It was so well edited because she was having a romp in the sack at kind of the same pace that the fighting was going on the outside.
Yeah, I know.
It was kind of a funny contradiction going back and forth, and
absolutely.
All to the Three Musketeers music, or however it goes. It was fun.
It was fun.
I'm gonna have to find some music to put in there instead of what I just did.
Okay.
So as soon as we landed in France, here's the next list. I'm just gonna rhyme it off. People can pay attention. Star City, 2016. San Francisco, 1988. Moscow, 1969. Coast City, 1872. Atlanta, 1779. Markovia, 1661. Geneva, 1701. Tokyo, 1699. And France, 1637, which is the one we ended up in.
That's interesting. Well, we started with the last city that we left, which was Star City.
And then it ends with the one that we end up in, and that's
yeah.
Okay, so there's one pattern. Now, what I've noticed is the years seem to be between 1600 and 19 something. That hasn't.
In this one, the other ones, there's a wider range.
Yeah, the other one had right. I'm looking at it now, had a little bit more range. But have you noticed that they're mixing in real cities with comic book cities? I mean, we've got Coast City, Star City, and you've got Geneva, Tokyo, Atlanta. They're kind of mixing it all up.
Atlanta, 1779. That
was your city around back then?
Yeah. Yeah, we were around. So the next thing we do is we decide that we have to go to 1942. Even though we were expressly told not to go to 1942 because everybody's going to die.
Yeah.
So I thought this part was interesting where we get a time quake. That was new.
That was cool. I love kind of made up little time travel terms.
Oh yeah, totally. There's so much stuff made up here, but I mean they're at least sticking better to their own made up rules than Flash is. I will say that. Flash doesn't seem to have any time travel rules, and they change every single time. Whereas here, at least they're making their rules and they're sticking to them. So, I mean, this time quake, they call it an unusually large aberration. So something hugely catastrophic happens and reverberates throughout time, which was a really kind of a cool effect. And so we learned that apparently Damien Dark, which they have not figured this part out yet, I don't think, helps the Germans to nuke New York in 1942. The only problem is that's 3 years before the atomic bomb was actually built. So, I mean, I like that they kept their rules intact. Like I said, it takes time for the ripples to travel through time and to cement themselves as history. So we're seeing the ripples kind of flow through and being like, okay, well, that's an aberration because the atom bomb we know was built in 1945, but here they're saying that the atom bomb was set off in New York in 1942. So something here is clearly very wrong, but it's not cemented itself as history because otherwise no one would remember, or at least I'm assuming no one would remember that the atom bomb was not built until 1945. They would assume it was built in 42 when New York was nuked.
Right.
Right.
And like you said, it is cool. It seems they are sticking roughly to their rules of time rippling and solidifying. And I think that's awesome. We'll definitely have to keep an eye on that. Mm-hmm. And again, here we go. Here's another list because we landed in New York, 1942. So it went France, 1637, Chicago, 1678, Vatican City, 1701, Nanda Parbat, 1724, Koshmar, 1745, Hub City, 1803, Acapulco, 1855, Seoul, 1909, and New York, 1942.
Interesting. So we did start in France, 1637 again, right?
Yes.
Okay, that's interesting. I wonder what all these in-between cities, I wonder if they mean anything.
I don't know. It would be cool if those were possible storylines that we might see. Like, hey, they went to Markovia in 1661. Or whatever. Mm-hmm. Maybe. That's what I'm wondering. That's why I'm making this list. I would love to hear some feedback on what people think it might mean. And again, it could mean absolutely nothing. It's just gibberish they use to make up a graphic.
That's true. Yeah, so we'll have to see. But
okay, so now we come to. Well, Ray, you say he's being suspicious of Sara.
Yeah, when he he follows her. This is when he follows her just into the library, which is awesome, by the way. I love this new upgraded ship that they have.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say what I thought it was cool. I think the library is an awesome, exciting new room for them to get to hang out in. I think I said something more about it a little bit. Yeah, there it is. Sorry, just like a place for study. To me, it made total sense. It looked cool. It was all classic kind of furniture, architecture, design with tech mixed in. I loved it. I want to go hang out there. Can we go hang out there?
I know, seriously. I want to just go spend time there. It looked totally awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, man. But anyway.
So you think suspicion, I was kind of feeling more like concern.
Oh, really?
I think he's suspicious of what she's doing because he knows she's not being truthful, but I think I felt he was more concerned for her because he just cares. Mm. Which I really actually liked because it shows that the relationships between our crew have grown over the last season, and I like that.
That's true. It might be a little bit of both. He definitely has felt less naive in this episode. Right. So, whereas I felt like he was very naive all through last season.
He's a little more hardened.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah, I agree.
Exactly. Oh, and then we come to Stein and his fanboy reactions to getting to meet Einstein.
Oh my gosh, these scenes were so funny. He was completely giddy.
Giddy.
Yeah, and then he was kind of almost slightly disappointed about, how Einstein was kind of like the ladies' man. I love that.
Because he was expecting a real straight up stiffened kind of, nose in the books kind of guy, I guess.
Yeah, I personally would also love to meet Einstein. I'd love to time travel and go back and meet him. But I did hear that, he was a little bit of a womanizer.
Well, and that's the thing with history. And that's why I'm okay with the show taking liberty and writing what it wants. And we'll get to a point about Einstein's wife in a little bit.
Yeah.
History, even all our textbooks, all our accounts, everything we have is just whatever you could say. It's one person's opinion, one person's view, or it's the way things were written back then, or whatever. Every single historical account that we have on anything cannot be 100% accurate because there's things that could be missing. There's details they've missed. There's they didn't have time to put things, whatever the reason, you cannot take what we have in our history textbooks as actual 100% fact.
No, yeah.
There's no way.
No, it's one-sided, and especially when it comes to war stories, it's the side of the victor. That's
Exactly.
what you hear. And depending on what country you lived in, it may or may not have been heavily censored or even completely made up.
Right. I mean, here's an interesting tidbit, totally off point here, but even our maps, our atlas, when you look at the atlas of the world, you notice the size of countries and all that kind of stuff. Have you ever, there's a video, maybe I'll find it and I'll post a link on our page on YouTube. There's a video where people prove that all of our maps and atlases are wrong. They were designed and drawn not to actual scale by the countries that are in power, because the countries that are in power are actually not as big as they are, but they want to make sure that they look bigger so that someone looks at the map and they say, whoa, look at the United States.
That's
a big
interesting.
country. Whoa, look at Russia. It's a big country. And the maps they're way off skew. And this video shows a map of what it really should be, the actual physical measurements of land masses, and you're surprised. It's pretty shocking to see the difference and how much smaller some countries really are.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I'd like to see that video.
Yeah, I thought that was fascinating when I saw that. Oh, and for me, because I like conspiracy theories and all that kind of stuff, I was just fascinated by that. Oh, it makes sense. Oh, no offense to you, Harley, but the Americans, come on, they always have to think they're bigger and better than everybody else, or Russia,
that's
or
true.
China, whatever.
Yeah,
all that
that's
kind of stuff.
Yeah. No, I'm not gonna argue with that. Sometimes, yeah, being an American can be a curse sometimes. So.
And it's not you people. I have a lot of friends down there, including you, and I love you guys very much. It's your politics and your government as a whole. That's more what I'm referring to, and the money that's behind the scenes, the power behind everything is what does these kind of things. It has nothing to do with the people themselves.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story. So we should probably move on.
Tangent cast.
I know. But bringing it back around to their meeting, I found it absolutely hysterical that it was Martin Stein that ends up slugging Einstein. I found that very fitting. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction.
Whack. I mean, Victor Garber's he's priceless. He has got the giddy as a kid in a candy shop down to a sweet science. He is so funny.
Oh my gosh.
When he does that.
He's hysterical. I love him playing that character. He does such a good job.
It's just amazing. So now we get to this little tidbit with Jax clearly being the ship's mechanic. Rip has kind of handed that over to him as his job, his task, his responsibility.
Yeah, he kind of has, which is clearly kind of like setting up our team to function without Rip. Which, you catch on a rewatch, but when you're first watching that, you're kind of like, okay, well, that's interesting. I guess, Rip wants to focus on other things. And then, he kind of has a lot of lines throughout the episode that are things like, well, I didn't want to be the only one to know its secrets. Or I feel it's important that other people know how to do these things. Or something, things like along those lines.
Yeah, but that makes sense. I mean, if he goes down and he's the only one that can fix a ship, then they're kind of screwed. So
Exactly.
It makes sense in a realistic world for them. He's like, I should have someone that can back me up.
Oh, absolutely. And even on a first watch, you don't think anything of it because that's exactly what you're thinking. But then if you do a second watch after seeing the end, you see that yes, that was part of it, but it was really the ulterior motive of him, I think, knowing or planning for the fact that he was going to disappear and not come back.
But I was having a good old chuckle myself being an 80s boy and loving 80s movies. Rip was giving him the whole Karate Kid Mr. Miyagi training.
Yeah.
Just the secret training where the kid is just frustrated and what's this have to do with anything and this isn't going to help me out. Meanwhile, it totally is.
Yeah, I know. As he rattles off 3 questions and Jax is like, well, this is the answer, and this is the answer. So what? And then he's like, oh.
Exactly. That was pretty priceless. And then I have to say, yay for Gideon. She's still there.
I know.
I was just hearing her voice. I just felt a whole sense of warmth. There's something about her. I don't know. Something about Gideon and being this ship with a conscience. I love her. I really hope they do lots with her this season. But did you notice, like, holy upgrades to the Waverider?
Yeah, it's like a brand new ship.
The piloting console with seats for co-pilots, and the seats themselves are new, and there's gadgets and different controls and everything. I just wow, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it looks like they totally gutted the inside and changed it.
So that leads me to ask, which ship is it? Is this the one that the team crashed in the finale, all fixed up, or is it the new one that Rex crashed?
Oh, I didn't even think about that, but Rex vanishes. Someone has to vanish with the other ship, somehow.
Mm-hmm.
I am leaning towards it's the same ship, but they gutted it and completely redid it since it was literally falling apart at the end of last season. But,
yeah. And then, you know what, throw in the fact that the show got picked up for season 2, they got a lot more money thrown at them. Hey, let's make it look better.
Yeah, I definitely think that was part of it in the mix. They wanted to have some upgrades, but
yeah.
I like that it worked. I mean, like we said, that library is totally awesome. So
it was totally awesome. Yeah, I mean that's cool that they have a new area to go to. It's because I mean it's not a small ship, and last season we didn't see very many parts of it. We saw the cargo bay, we saw the prison chamber, and we saw the cockpit, the flying room, whatever you want to call it. That there wasn't much shown. So.
Yeah, and like Rip's office was kind of right there. And
yeah.
It looks like they've moved that library to somewhere else on the ship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't sure at first if the library was his office. It's just changed, but then they made a point of saying, no, this is the library. It's a completely different room. So we haven't really seen his office, did we?
No, well, I was wondering if maybe he didn't have one and they decided to do this library instead.
Guess we'll find out.
He has like a whole team, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like everything about the ship was much more team-oriented.
Right.
I mean, the way that the seats were arranged, the library instead of like Rip's office. I mean, I guess really the only two things that we saw. But
yeah, but that's a good point. The way the seats were arranged, they were all in kind of not even in a row, like a half circle, all facing the piloting console.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, it looked more like all of them get to be in it and part of the action. And yeah, I mean, there was the pilot, the captain's chair, and then there was 2 chairs directly off to the left and right of him at the end of the console that each had their own controls, because we saw Ray controlling it, doing some stuff, you know, while Rip was like, hey, Ray, can you check this out? And he was doing it. So there's kind of like 2 co-pilots, as I said. And then there was the row of chairs behind them.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and it looks like everybody's kind of learning different aspects of the ship, because, I mean, we know that there's at least 3 people that can pilot the ship, because we have Sara, we have Mick, and, you know, then Rip himself. And then, I mean, at least Sara has a really good relationship with Gideon, because we see her using her to track down Dark. And then Jax is the mechanic. And so they're kind of like setting up, they really set up, you know, Rip to be gone. So it'll be interesting to see what they end up doing with him.
Yeah, I'm unsure. I mean, we can talk a little bit more about him later, but I'm unsure with him. Yeah, that's at the end of this, but we'll save that for the end.
Yeah. It was it's an interesting setup. It just establishes that there are multiple people that can, if the team comes together as a team, they can still function just fine.
Which is kind of what Rip was wanting to do from the get-go in Season 1, was to bring them together as a team.
Mm-hmm.
So what if this is a test for them?
That's true. Going back to this whole, like, German plot point, and I didn't understand so Einstein's wife is the reason that New York gets blown up. So they go to all this trouble of kidnapping Einstein. It doesn't matter because who they have is his wife. They didn't, not him. So I don't know. That didn't make sense. I mean, she was a physicist. That much was true. I'm just saying, I don't think that it's historically accurate to say that she was the brains behind the atom bomb and not Einstein. I could totally be wrong.
Okay.
But I mean, that was really his wife. I'm pretty sure they got divorced at some point. Like I said, he had several affairs. He was rather notorious in that way.
Okay. Although it was kind of funny when they had Einstein in prison there, and just it didn't take long. He had already realized that they were time travelers, which I thought was cool. I mean, he should recognize it. This is what he studies. This is what he figures out. So he should put the pieces together pretty darn quick, and he did.
Yeah, he did. I mean, while this was a really cool scene and it let like the two of them interact, it felt like a lot of exposition, but it was cool. I mean, I liked, it was very amusing, and like I said, I loved the interaction between him and Stein, and then Rory, and he's like, "Why am I talking with you? You're clearly the genius," and he points at Rory. I mean, that was hysterical.
Yeah. That of all the characters to put together, you put from an outside, judge a book by its cover, Martin Stein would be the smartest, and Rory would definitely be on the dumb end of the scale. And Einstein, the smartest man of all time, is calling Rory the smart one. That's hilarious.
It was very funny.
Too funny.
So when they figure out, that they have to go after the bomb and that it wasn't, really Einstein, it was Mileva. So why? I don't understand a lot that happens in the scene. I liked the fight sequence. I thought it was very cool. But what I don't understand is Ray and his suit and why it's on the fritz in this scene and what that has to do. Like, supposedly he's like disabling the atom bomb, but I don't know. It was confusing and it was incredibly hand wavy. But what was going on there?
Well, allow me to clear your mind, partner. On their way to get to that location, Ray had stated something along the lines of his suit should be able to absorb all the radiation while he tries to disarm it. So when they get there and he gets his hand in the thing and he plugs in, it ends up being too much. And he says, it looks like my suit can't handle this much radiation, and that's why it was starting to go on the fritz. He thought his design could handle it, but he's never tested it, was what I gathered. So here he is plugged in, and it was too much for his suit.
Okay, so here's my question. So when he plugs into it, is that just him, like, trying to hack the system?
I think so.
Because, for a minute, like, the way that the scene is shot and worded, this is why I said it was confusing. It feels like they're trying to imply that he's, like, siphoning the radiation off of, like, through that little blue cord, but I don't think that's the case, because that wouldn't make sense, because that's not really how radiation works. Like, if you the radioactive source, it radiates out in a spherical manner. It doesn't travel nicely along a little.
Well, and I think that's. I can go back and look at it, but I think that's kind of what they were doing. He knew that once he opened the bomb, the radiation would leak out everywhere, so he had quickly devised something that could attach to his suit so he could start absorbing it so that it doesn't go everywhere, and I think that's what was happening. He thought it could absorb all of it, and it couldn't. It was too much. That's why it was going on the fritz.
Yeah, but I thought it was just like, okay, so hold on. Now I'm kind of rethinking this whole scene. So if he uses the blue cable to me, he's using that to plug in and hack the system, but as soon as he opens it, the radiation's going to come out, but he's protected by his entire suit. So it's not like the blue part, that's the blue line that's like trying to contain the radiation. It's just the suit in general in that area. And then the radiation, it's just, it can't handle that much radiation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's making more sense to me.
Okay, you just had to put it in your words in your head.
Kind of, yeah. It was the way it was shot, and it was fast, and it just didn't make sense. So yeah, talking it through, okay, that helps.
Well, there was a lot going on. I mean, the fight scene was actually pretty intense, and like you said, and I thought it was shot very well. It was fast and furious and things were going on. What I got left with wondering, while you're sitting there struggling on what's happening to Ray's suit, I was sitting there struggling with, why can't a team of superpowered heroes beat a bunch of thugs with 1940s guns?
Yeah, I was wondering it too.
Because I'm thinking, okay, that's pretty bad superheroes if you can't handle that. But then I thought about it. Well, Sara's not helping. She's off on her own one-on-one battle, and Ray is stuck on the bomb, so they're actually kind of they are outgunned. But then you've got Firestorm flying around. He could basically take them all out if he wanted to.
Exactly, and why wasn't Firestorm disabling the bomb someone who can actually absorb radiation, or picking up the bomb and flying it somewhere else?
Now you're bringing up some good questions, and I have no answers for that.
That might be my new nitpick, because I literally just thought of it.
And that's what this show is all about. We talk about things, discuss things, and cool stuff comes out.
Yeah. So, I mean, the reason, based on how the episode ended, the reason they didn't do that is because they needed the nuke to go off on the Waverider and Rip to supposedly be dead, blah, blah, blah. So Firestorm can't very well carry it off halfway through the episode because you wouldn't have the rest of the episode. However,
plot device.
Logically, it should have been, yeah, exactly, plot device. It should have been Firestorm tackling the radiation bomb.
But they've also already done that, so maybe the writer's like, no, we did that already.
I mean, that's fair. That is fair. They also needed the bomb for the final act.
That's true.
But anyway.
All right.
So this is the point where they institute the time scatter.
Which you mentioned, and I was about to get excited because time scatter, what a cool term.
I thought that was really cool, too.
That's cool. As soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, what's time scatter? And I started rubbing my hands together like you can, what is that? And then, of course, we'll tell you later. That's a last-ditch thing. Don't worry about it. And I'm like, oh, okay, they're going to come back to that later in the season. Huh.
Yeah, nope, just like 10 minutes later in the episode. So my question here is, why did they scatter? Why did they have to scatter? Because was this something that Rip intended to be a failsafe for a different situation, where if they're all in danger, it would make sense to scatter them throughout time, and since that's all he had, that's what he used in this situation to keep everyone alive? Because and I feel like they didn't need to be scattered through time to live. They just needed to be off of the Waverider. Okay.
Well, my thoughts are that they get scattered everywhere so they can't easily be found. It's a last-ditch safety thing. So what if some unstoppable force, villain, bad guy, whatever, was after them, and Rip just basically, it's essentially teleportation. He just teleports them all together to another place, another time. They're easily tracked and hunted down again. They're all together, easy pickings. But with them all over time, it's harder to find them. It's much safer. And if Rip survives, or like Mick survived, he knows where they all are. He can go one by one, pick them up. Not as easily trackable. That was my feeling.
No, I mean, I agree, and I think that's the ultimate intention. It just seemed odd to use it in this instance. You know what I mean? Because there wasn't an action, because they didn't know about the reverse flash. Now, if they knew about the reverse flash, then that's totally a great reason to time scatter them everywhere, because otherwise he can figure out where they went and then just go get them all or kill them all or whatever. I don't know.
But I guess, I mean, they had a nuclear warhead coming at them, so I guess he didn't know if the ship could take it, and he wanted to just get them out of there.
Yeah, and that's what I'm having to buy. I think it's interesting they introduced it as a time scatter. So I think it will come back later in the season.
Yeah, which I hope they do, because it was a cool idea. It's a cool safety measure, I think, to have.
Yeah, if it doesn't come back for a better payoff later in the season, I think it'll make less sense to have used it in this premiere episode.
Right.
But if they only put it here to introduce us to this concept, which also would kind of mitigate part of my nitpick, which was the time scatter and then having to very, very, very quickly see just like snippets of scenes of these other time periods.
Do you want to save that for your nitpick still? Or
I think, what did I say? What was my other nitpick? Oh, the Firestorm thing. I think that might supersede it. That kind of really bothers me now that I've thought of it.
Okay, well, let me interject then, because you're a little bit on the bubble there.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, the time scatter happens, and this will lead into my nitpick, but all of a sudden our characters are spread across time all over the place, and suddenly they gotta go find them. And so, before I get into that, we got like a flurry of lists of locations pop up because they're popping all over the place. So, goes from Star City 2016, San Diego 190 as in 190.
Okay, San Diego didn't exist in 190. I'm just saying.
I know, strange. Baton Rouge 1778, Bloodhaven. What's that?
Or a typo.
Maybe it was a typo on the screen. Yeah, I don't know.
If they're not expecting people to slow it down, San Diego, I mean.
In the year 190.
I mean, I guess technically that space of land existed in the year 190, but it wasn't called San Diego.
No, that's true. And you know what? That could be a typo on my bed. I mean, I'm looking at my handwritten notes, and that's what I have written down, so maybe I missed a digit.
Oh, maybe you missed a number?
Maybe it was me. Maybe it's 1900 something.
Interesting. Okay.
Could
Sorry.
be. I can look that up. Anyway, so San Diego, Baton Rouge, 1778, Bloodhaven, 1486, Paris, 1208, Venice, 426, and that is not a typo. That's the year 426.
But did Venice... I mean, I know it was... That location existed, but I don't think it was called Venice in 426.
I don't know. Why? See, this is the thing. That's why I did this. Let's look that up and see what happens. See what we find out.
This is interesting. Okay.
Opal City, 233. These are in Rome, 169.
This one started again from Star City 26.
Yeah.
2016. Sorry. I don't even know what I just said. It's late. Sorry.
But look at the year. Like, there's 190, 426, 233, 169. These are very old, like, these are a long time. None of the other lists had this old, or this far back.
Yeah,
time
and
frames.
Yeah.
I mean, Opal City, is Opal City not one of the DC universe created cities?
No, it is, yeah.
Yet it says 233.
Right.
So, what are they doing with these lists in these years? See, this is why I did it. I'm curious.
Yeah, I don't know. So far, there's not like a obvious pattern emerging to me, but it is very interesting, I think.
Well, this list ends in South Dakota 70 million years ago. And we see Caveman Ray running with very long hair and a beard, and he's on the run from a T-Rex. Yep. Now, my question, I reacted pretty funny. I chuckled at Ray's look. I thought, oh, dinosaurs, 70 million, this is awesome, because I wanted to see them go this far back.
Yeah.
I just thought it was funny. But my question is, was this scene too cheesy, or was it just silly fun?
I thought it was fun. I didn't think... I agree that it could have been borderline, but with Mick, like, roasting the T-Rex, I mean, Ray turns around, he's got a stick. I mean, really, Ray?
Yeah.
You can't fight him off with this stick, and then all of a sudden it's just like, all these flames.
I mean, you could ask, well, why doesn't Ray have his Atom suit with him? He always carries it in his pocket, doesn't he? So why doesn't he have it back then?
I don't know, maybe the T-Rex ate it.
Yeah. I don't know. Or it got left behind on the ship. Who knows? Anyway, it was funny.
Or kind of the batteries.
So then, right after that scene, we jump again, and here's your next list. Mesopotamia, 1962. Alexandria, 1736. Sparta, 1467. Okay. I have written Corinth on here, but I don't have a year. And I may have miswrote that one. El Kef, I never heard of, 977. Arwad, 512. Babylon, 133. And I'm not sure how to say this, Tintagel, England, or it looks like Tint Angel, but I don't think it's pronounced that. It looks like Tintagel, England.
Yeah, it's something like that.
821, which is where they end up, and that's where we rescue Jax and Martin Stein. Being court jesters.
Okay, that was really funny. And, okay, minor nitpick here with the cell phone. How long were they stranded? That cell phone should have probably been dead, unless they were only there for like 2 hours.
You would have thought, yeah.
But it was still really funny.
But it seems like they were there for a while, because he's like, would you like to look in my magic mirror again?
Exactly.
Which to me tells me that he's used it before for the little king, and now the king is bored, and that's why he's like, off with their heads, because he's like, your tricks are old.
Exactly, which means that the phone probably should be dead. But hand wavy.
Maybe he sticks his finger in the socket and powers it with his nuclear power. Who knows?
Yes.
Anyway, it was still kind of funny.
Yeah.
So then, well, we liked Mick piloting the Waverider when they're off rescuing everybody. So we thought that was kind of funny.
Yeah, no, that was pretty great. Did we rescue everyone? I don't think we talked about Sara.
Nope, we haven't gone through everyone yet, because then...
I kind of started skipping.
Oh, did I must have missed a list, because they end up... Oh, yeah, Here it is, sorry. I have another list. They go to rescue Sara. Troy, 742. Carthage, 952. Athens, 1004. Moscow, 1233. Tehran, 1386. River City, 1557. Calcutta, 1624. And Salem, 1693, which is where they get Sara from.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy, yeah. And then, I mean, that little tidbit about rescuing Sara, she's being burned as a witch, and you have turned all of our women against us, or whatever they were yelling at her.
Corruption.
You've corrupted them all, and she kind of smiles and says, I happily corrupted them.
Yeah.
At this point, there was a lot of posts on her Facebook page. People were a little bit done with Sara and this womanizing aspect of her, I think.
Yeah, I think they were. I mean, they did play that up a little bit too much. I mean, it's definitely fun, and I like that they show that different perspective on TV, but they definitely probably need to tone down the quote-unquote playboy, playgirl attitude that she's got going on, you know what I mean?
Well, they're kind of making her seem a bit slutty, actually. Like
Totally.
I liked in the first season when she met that nurse and kind of fell for her, and there was a bit of a romantic story developing there, and it showed us that it's hard for her. She met someone she likes, starts falling for her, and then they have to leave, and that gave it a bit of a tug on the heartstrings. Just to have her romping around through time and sleeping here and there, it's kind of making her look a little bit slutty, and that's what I didn't like.
Yeah, I would agree with that completely. I don't like that either.
So what happens? I mean, they're running around saving the team, and Rip's gone.
Yeah.
What the heck? What? This is the big question and the mystery. Why? Why is he off the show? Is he gone just a few episodes? Is he testing the team? Did they write him off? Was there, behind the scenes in reality contract trouble? What's going on? Why is he off the show?
I don't know. So like, if you look at like just the way that the credits scroll on the premiere episode, I have not gone out to IMDb because sometimes that can be kind of spoilery, so I decided not to.
Right.
But he is listed still as main cast the way that the names flow across the screen for the premiere. So I guess we'll have to pay attention to that because you see there was a lot of special guest stars in this episode. Yep. Stephen Amell. And, I mean, there are some others, but I can't recall them off the top of my head. But Stephen Amell was the obvious one. Arthur Darvill still was under main cast. His name comes up as, like third or fourth when they start, you see Victor Garber, Kitty Lotz, he's still lumped in with our main cast. Okay. So, my personal theory is that I don't think that he's gone. I don't know exactly where he went, but on the rewatch, I mean, you pick up on all the little things of him, like trying to make sure that everything is covered. So I think he was planning to disappear, and while I don't think he necessarily orchestrated this whole thing, because I don't think he knew what would happen, like this quickly, I think that this was ultimately his plan. And I don't think he wants to be found, so I think that's why they weren't able to detect his aberrations. I mean, it makes sense because he's going to minimize any potential aberration he would make because he wants to stay hidden, and he's the most experienced in it, so I think he could do that. I personally don't think he's dead.
I don't think he's dead because he left a message for them, and they didn't find a body or anything, and in his message he did say, I'll see you again in somewhere in time or something like that.
Yeah, and it could mean he means like a past version of himself, but I doubt that. I think he literally meant he will see them again someday, somewhere in time.
Okay.
I think that was a hint.
Interesting. I mean, I'm just wondering if these first few episodes they've got to introduce so many new characters. Maybe they're just trying to cut back on the cast for a couple episodes.
I mean, that's true, and that makes sense, because we have the next episode, we've got the whole JSA, which introduces. They won't touch on the Legion of Doom. I mean, the JSA alone, that's 5 new characters.
As I said in the very beginning, how many characters can we fit in one episode?
I know, I hear you. I'm totally with you there.
Yeah, so.
So this is this last part where they play Rip's video, they can't find him or whatever. And they're like, okay, well now what do we do? And they figured out that if they can safeguard the Einsteins with only making a slight alteration to history, but I don't really understand how making her a public partner keeps them safe.
Yeah, I was scratching my head on that one too, and the only thing I can come up with is that it's kind of the idea of hiding her in plain sight type of idea.
Yeah. That's all I got. Just make her known, then they can't come after her because she's also a prominent figure.
Yeah, something like that. That's all I could come up with, and I mean, it's just it is what it is, I guess.
I feel like this episode would have been so much cleaner if they didn't introduce Maleva. Like, they had just left it at Einstein. It just would have been cleaner.
Yeah, and they could have made the Einstein thing a whole episode on its own. They went back to a time period of Einstein's, and the whole episode revolves around him. That would have given us more time to get to know the story, and for Ray and Martin Stein to have some fun with it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was kind of disappointing we didn't get a ton of that, but I don't know. I feel like we've got it. I think we're building, and we're going to get in next week's episode, some of like the more major themes that we're going to tackle the rest of this season, because I think it kind of like Flash. It was a setup episode.
Yeah, okay.
You know,
I can see that. Yeah.
It introduced a lot of things and felt like we didn't get to spend a lot of time in certain places because we have bigger and better things to get on to, or at least I hope. Otherwise, I'm going to be even more upset. Right. But I think it's because they're wanting to move on to bigger and better things, and this was just kind of like a fun premiere.
Okay, I'll buy that.
Yeah.
Well, let's get on to our final 2 little points, because I thought it was kind of neat. You know, we're Flash fans, and who shows up on the submarine in league with Damien Dark? None other than our Reverse Flash.
I know.
Eobard Thawne.
It's great to see him.
It's cool. You know what? Reverse Flash, I think, is my favorite villain out of all the shows. Him and Slade Wilson. I think.
Yeah.
He's such a good villain, and it's gonna be interesting to see what they do with him on Legends, and if he's running around back and forth, or between the shows. But what I find interesting is, or what I find I'm asking about him being there is he there on his own, since he can run through time? Or did the Flashpoint event somehow send him back there? What's the angle for pairing him up with Damien Dark?
I don't know, but there has to be one. I think he showed up on his own. I think he's the brains behind the operation. I think he's got an ulterior motive. Because he probably learned about Dark and I would assume from the events of Arrow, last year's Arrow. And so then he's like, oh, well, we can go back to this point in time, and, has this whole scheme. So I'll be interested to see more about that. I definitely think I think he's pulling the strings.
Yeah, well, I mean, Dark did keep referring to him as his partner, didn't he? What was he referring to him? Yeah.
Yeah, as his partner.
My partner. So, you're right. I think Reverse Flash could probably be the one in charge.
Yeah, because I think we have quote-unquote current Reverse Flash and past Damien Dark. Because since Damien Dark, he's not a time traveler, he just can live for a really long time because of the last bit.
Oh yeah, he didn't even know who Sara was. He's like, why? What's your mission? What have you been waiting a long time for? He had no idea.
He sure recognized that training, didn't he?
Yeah, he recognized the training, of course. And then from there, of course, the episode ends. You look like they're about to walk off into the sunset, get on the Waverider, and take off. And suddenly you hear an announcement, halt, you're not going anywhere, and it's the JSA coming down the street. It was cool. I mean, it was really cool. Like, oh, there they are, cool, because we've been waiting since the season 1 finale to see them. There they are, and then all of a sudden I'm looking at them going, wait a second, I don't recognize any of them except for Stargirl, the last one to kind of land on the scene. I'm like, who are all these guys? And I know we went through them in our summer podcast. There was Dr. Midnight, and what are the other ones? Do you remember?
Oh, Stargirl, Dr. Midnight, Vixen should have been one of them.
Vixen, sorry, I did recognize Vixen.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I saw Vixen there.
Yeah, she actually had a couple of lines, and then Obsidian, that was the other one.
Obsidian, yeah, because Rex Tyler was not in, not here yet.
So I recognized Vixen, and I knew Stargirl. So out of the 3 guy characters that were there, I don't know which one is which.
Yeah, so. I'm not sure which one would be which either.
And I'm a little
I think it was Dr. Midnight that was supposed to be blind based on the comics, so that might have been the guy with the black, He
was on the far left beside Stargirl there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he actually looked the coolest. The other 2 guys, I was like, they look a little bit goofy. Their outfits were a little bit weird, but maybe it's because they're in 1942.
I don't know.
I guess.
See. We'll see more of it next week. So.
But this comes back around to what we were talking about earlier. Why did they show up at the end of this episode? Why the disconnect from the season 1 finale? I mean, I assumed Rex showed up with the Waverider and he was going to take our team back to meet the JSA and all that stuff. So I'm still mixed up with the disconnect.
Yeah, I think we're going to get some more of that next week, because it'll be interesting to see which version of Rex Tyler we get. Is this the one that has already warned them, or is this the 1942 version of Rex Tyler? You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
So, yeah, I think we're going to get those answers next week. But I agree, it's confusing.
It's pretty cool, yeah. It's confusing. It's cool, but it's confusing.
It's cool, but right now it's a little confusing. Definitely a setup episode. Absolutely.
And, I mean, what would our show be without some confusion and some questions?
Yeah, I know. They got to give us something to talk about.
All right, Arlie. Well, I think we've covered plenty for our return season. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. I think we got it all. There was a lot to talk about. There was a lot to pick apart there.
That's okay. It's our return episode. We got, we're excited. We're happy to be back. All right, well, let's move on to one of our more popular sections, ones that we like to get into, the nitpick of the week.
Form of water!
Well, I've kind of already talked about both of mine, so I'm just going to do a quick recap here.
All right.
The new one that I discovered that really, really irked me was the fact that they didn't use Firestorm with the atomic bomb, since he can absorb radiation and all of those fun things. And then the second part was just the whole time scatter element. It was just really rushed, because I would have liked to have spent more time in each of those periods, and maybe we'll get to go back to some different periods or some of, maybe some of the same ones throughout the season. But I mean, it was a lot of ground to cover in 1 hour. The pacing was pretty good, except for this part of it, that this was the part that felt really rushed to me. Other than that, I was happy with the pacing of the rest of the episode.
Well, and your nitpick is kind of along the lines of mine. I agreed with you as you went through it. Mine basically exactly that. They tried to fit so much in. Slow down, take a breath, let us get back with our characters and in the groove. It was like a disco ball being spun at high speeds. I mean, it was crazy at times. But going back to my overall feel from the beginning, they could have stretched this out to a 3-episode arc, is what I really felt. Because imagine it ending with the team being scattered. That's it. Episode ends right there. You're like, what? What happened? Where'd everybody go? Now, over the next couple episodes, we get to see where each character is, what's happening to them, and maybe 2 per episode get saved until the whole team is back together again. So we get to witness what they're doing in that time frame. Like, imagine seeing what Sara was up to in Salem and getting all the women in trouble and stuff. Imagine watching Ray have to survive in a prehistoric world without his technology. I mean, there could have been some fun stories to watch there. And we would have seen a lot of stuff happen to these characters. It seems like they were there for a while. Sort of like when Ray and Kendra were stranded for 2 years. I want the drama. I want the emotion we got in the last couple episodes of season 1 when it got so powerful there, when Captain Cold was sacrificing himself and all that emotion was stirring. Like I was hoping they would pick up on that and give us that to continue with. So I hope they find it, and I hope they don't go too fast and just be kind of silly like this all season long.
Yeah, that's why I think this was supposed to be like a fun, lighthearted, just in a general, like a setup episode. Like, I think that's what this was intended to be. So I think we're setting up for the bigger and better things. But I do hope that they revisit, if not some of the same time periods, just other time periods and spend some more time.
Yeah, exactly. All right, now to our most popular section, your favorite.
Yay.
Quote of the week.
Shape out an eagle!
Quote of the week.
All right, so we agreed that we were going to stick to our pattern of doing a funny quote and a serious quote.
Yep. All
right, Harley, so let's kick it off with our 4 funny quotes that people get to vote on. And for our new listeners, I know we've got some new members on the Facebook page. So quote of the week, we select 4 funny quotes and 4 serious quotes, and then Harley goes and posts a poll on the Facebook page where you all get to vote on which your favorite one in each category was. And then we'll tally it up, and on our next podcast, we tell you which quote won, one from each one.
Yep. It's always fun.
It's a lot of fun.
I love it.
The reason we love this part so much is because we get to replay. I actually take clips out of the show, the audio clips, and put them into our podcast here, which you're going to hear in just a second. And it kind of lets you relive that moment, brings you back to that scene, and sometimes it's pretty emotional stuff.
Yeah.
And funny stuff. Real funny stuff, because our funny quotes, they're funny. All right, Harley, what do you got for our first funny quote?
All right, the first funny quote is wardrobe change.
I knew we were all in trouble when Rip made us put on blouses just to save the King of France. I look like an idiot.
I rather like the style of Les Mousquetaires de la Garde.
You would.
That scene still cracks me up.
I know.
All right, and our second one?
The second quote is appetizer.
I believe the Queen is waiting for you in her bedroom.
And I'll bet she's all warmed up for you.
Shut your mouth, Jax, or we'll cut your eyes out and feed them to you.
Classic Sara, right?
Yeah. And our third quote.
Infinitely human.
You yourself once said that 2 things are infinite: the universe and human stupidity.
And you are living proof of the latter.
He just calls you stupid.
That's the one that I like. And our last humorous quote is...
The last one is barbecue.
I love roasting Nazis.
Which is fantastic.
It is fantastic.
All right, well, do you want to run us through our serious quotes?
I sure can, Harley.
What's the first one?
Our first serious quote is chance of a lifetime.
Hey, time out. This was supposed to be a salvage mission.
Who are you kidding?
You've been waiting your whole life for a chance like this.
I liked that one.
Yeah, I'd take it. Jeez, who wouldn't want to go time traveling?
I know, right? All right, what's the second one?
Second one is companions.
Gideon.
I'm here, Captain.
There you always are.
Aww.
That one just puts a bit of a tear in my eye. I'm kind of partial to the Rip Gideon relationship.
Yeah, I love that relationship.
As I was saying in our discussion, that behind the scenes here, that kind of calls back to the season finale when the ship was going into the sun, and Gideon kind of came alive and said, "Captain, I'm not ready to die."
Yeah.
That really got to me, and this kind of brings that back. So.
I agree. All right, what's our third one?
Third one is Anti-Hero.
Where's Captain Hunter?
I don't know. Must have died and scattered himself like the rest of them. Guess I gotta play hero and find them.
And our last one is exactly that. Famous last words.
You know what they say? Captain must never abandon his ship. Well, neither shall I abandon hope of seeing you all again someday. Somewhere in time. As flawed and unruly as you are individually, together you are the best crew, the best team a captain could ever hope for. So, stick together. And remember, history is yours now, my dear legends. Good luck.
That whole speech was one of my favorites.
The
whole episode, that was good.
That one ran a little bit long, but it's powerful, and that also tied in. That's what I was asking about in my nitpick, is I want that drama, that emotional connection back to what they gave us in the last couple episodes of the first season, and that speech by Rip kind of started to bring that full circle.
It did.
It was nice. Well, Harley, guess what time it is?
Time for feedback.
Purgatory powers, activate!
Yay.
Oh, we haven't done that for a long time. That was fun.
That was fun.
Okay, so we have 4 feedbacks to kick off our season 2, so that's not too bad.
No, that's pretty good.
We do realize that Legends is the last of the superhero shows to air in the week, and because we record on Friday, we also have the shortest turnaround time, so we're sorry for that, guys. I just hope that because we're the last show airing, you've got everything else out of the way and you can squeeze us in and get us some feedback.
Yeah, it's unfortunately the best day for both of us to get this done, so.
Yeah, so that's what we have to go with. All right, Harley, well, this is actually nice. We got 2 voicemails and 2 emails. What do you want to start with?
Perfect. We can start with a voicemail.
Okay, well, I have not pre-screened these, so I don't know what's coming.
Okay.
Our first voicemail is from Megan, which I believe was Killer Frost, wasn't it?
Yes.
All right, so that's why, I don't know if you saw my post today, Harley, I put a post on our page to get everyone to list their superhero names, because...
Yeah, we need to start a document. I meant to do that over the summer, and, well, life happened.
Yeah, and over the summer I kind of forgot a few of them and who was who, and that's why I made the post, so I could just reconnect us to who was who. So, Megan, aka Killer Frost, here she is.
Hello there, Wonder Twins. Yes, summer is over and winter is coming. Wait, that's the wrong show. Summer is over and we finally got some new episodes. It was a long couple of months. I gotta say, it was quite the way to start off the season. An excellent episode. I would give it 8.5 out of 10 revenge-seeking assassins. I think I smiled through pretty much the entire episode. It was a ton of fun. I think the humor this time around was the strong point. Sara having relations with several women throughout history Any of the scenes between Mick and Stein and Albert Einstein were great, especially Mick being the smart one. Haircut, needing a haircut and a shave after his time with dinosaurs. It was just very lighthearted, and I was very happy to watch it. There wasn't a whole lot of character development. It didn't get really too deep, but like I said, it was a ton of fun. My biggest issue is the fact that Damien Dark is on my TV screen again. I was very tired of him at the end of season 4 on Arrow, so I'm not looking forward to seeing him again. And the fact that, and maybe I'm wrong, it might not be a recurring character, but I really hope not, because we've already had one immortal, almost unbeatable bad guy with Vandal Savage last season. Do we really have to go through that again? But the one saving grace is, I think, the next time we see Dark, there will be a good chance that the Reverse Flash is there. I was kind of squealing at the TV screen when he showed up. That's pretty cool. That was my biggest complaint. Overall, like I said, it was a fun episode. It just made me smile, made me laugh. It's just a good time. I have high hopes for the rest of the season. Kind of disappointed that we'll only have 12 episodes left, but I think that's a quality versus a quantity thing. If we spread it, have more episodes, it would spread it out too much, and the episodes would drag. At least that's what I'm telling myself. But I plan on enjoying these last 12 episodes with lots of laughs, lots of action, especially with the Justice Society. It's going to be a good season. Until next time, Meg.
Well, thank you, Meg, or is it Killer Frost? What do you want to go by? I thought we were doing superhero names.
I know. Gotta use your superhero name.
Yeah, I see everybody's rusty. But thanks for your call. This is great to have you back with us. It's just great to be back and getting to listen to your voices again and hearing your ideas and thoughts. And right off the bat, your very last point is what I'm going to start with. There was only 13 episodes listed and ordered, but from what I found out, there is the possible chance of a back order of 9 more. So I think they're kind of waiting to see where this goes, and especially after the Big 4 show crossover. I think they're going to feel out where Legends is at, and possibly we might get 9 more.
That would be exciting. I would be down for 9 more episodes.
Yeah, I mean, I understand what she's saying, that, quality over quantity, and that totally makes sense, but
I agree.
Last season, I also wanted a little bit more. So,
yeah.
We'll see. Let's just hope for a good season. And
yeah, I think it'll be good. I do unfortunately think that Damien Dark is here to stay. I don't think they're going to treat him the same manner they did with Arrow. But, if they do, we do have Vixen to kind of combat him, I guess.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
There's
magic
that.
Versus magic, yeah. Well, and with the news that's been out already with the Legion of Doom and stuff, Damien Dark should not get that much focus as he did in this episode. I think he'll end up becoming, we'll have a team of heroes and a team of villains, and yeah.
I agree.
Anything else about Megan's call there?
No, great feedback. Thanks for sending it in.
Yeah, thanks so much. All right, well, let's go. We'll do what we did last season. We'll alternate. So let's go to our first email.
Okay.
Sci-Fi Jean. You want to take her away?
Sure. All right. That was an excellent season premiere episode. I'm not sure if Einstein really had a secret ex-wife, but I suppose that anything is possible.
Yeah, we did.
Maleva was indeed Einstein's real ex-wife. I've been thinking that maybe Rip was inspired to create the backup plan for saving everyone as a direct result of Rex's message. Now that we know of the reverse flashes involved, maybe Jessie Quick from Earth 2 will get her speedster powers and join the team. I think that sounds like an excellent idea.
I think so.
I think you may be onto something.
Well, you kind of need a speedster to counter Reverse Flash being here, don't you? Because
it could.
What can you do? You got one speedster running around and nobody can stop him. It's kind of unfair.
That is true. Yeah, there was a Flash appearance teased. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, your backup plan idea, that could be what it is. Rip could, because he knows what's coming, maybe he created a backup plan, so...
Yeah, I definitely think it was a backup plan. Whether or not it was supposed to be used that soon, that's why I think it'll come back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they'll use that again, because it was not only a neat thing, but I think it's a valuable safety to have, and I could see them writing a story with it malfunctioning.
Mm-hmm.
People get scattered through time, and I don't know, they can't get to them, or they can't find them, I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting cliffhanger.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks, Sci-Fi Gene.
Yeah.
Nice I think he joined us late in the season, so it's nice for him to kick off the season with us.
I know, yeah. Good to hear from you.
I was actually wrong in our count. We have 2 more emails and 1 more voicemail.
Well, that was a short one. Should we do another email?
Sure. Yeah. We got another short one here from Kelly, the Master Wordsmith. It's actually really short.
Oh, that is really short. Okay, I'll read this one.
Sure.
To start off, I said Rip died at the end of last season. I was right, but I was off by a few episodes. Mm-hmm. Though, like most time travel, he'll be back. Yeah, I don't think he's dead usually.
No.
Sorry. You heard my theories. This looks to be a good season. Sorry so short. See you in the funny pages. Kelly, a.k.a. Master Wordsmith. That's okay. We're glad to hear from you, Kelly.
We're always glad to hear from you, and I'm betting that she threw that one in because she wants to keep her record going straight as being the most sent in feedback.
Ooh, yeah, that's true. She is the most frequent contributor, is she?
Yeah, I think she's ahead of Patty Spivot by 1, I think, from last season.
we should make an official tally.
We should. Yeah, I could tally it up. I have them all in front of me here. We could get an official tally. But we can also have a season 2 running. It's a little competition we're going to have amongst our listeners. So everybody, get on it. We want to hear lots.
I know. Those who have already submitted have an advantage. You keep it up. Next episode, you're in good shape. Next season, the rest of the season. Can't talk. All right, moving on.
Right, we're getting, well, since I mentioned her, dear Patty Spivot sent us in a voicemail.
Yay.
Hey, Flash and Harley, it's Patty Spivot checking in. Glad to have Legends back. Glad to have you guys back. I'm looking forward to hearing the podcasts again regularly. Just finished watching, and I thought it was a pretty good episode to start out. I'm not super sad that Rip is going to be gone. I'm looking forward to seeing how the Legends kind of police themselves now going forward, because he was always the one kind of making them stop using their powers in the future and stuff. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic comes together. I really liked all the comedic spots in this episode, all the little funny quips and stuff. They were all over the place, and I really got a good chuckle through. Nice to see that it wasn't just Captain Cold and Heatwave with the banter all the time. Like, everyone else kind of had their own ones coming through now too, so everyone's got a little bit of comedy going on. I do miss Cold. I'm just going to throw that out there. I know we've said it to death, but he's going to come back, I hope. I really like the new character, though, a lot. I think they can do a lot with him, Dr. Heywood. He's kind of similar to Gideon, though, in what his abilities are, so I'm looking forward to seeing what else he can do and what else they're going to do with his character. But I kind of relate to the scattered, busy, crazy personality that he has. It's kind of a little bit like me. So yeah, he's my positive of the episode for sure. I loved the effect that they showed when Jackson jumped off the roof and landed on Dr. Stein. I thought that was super cool, how they just sort of on the go morphed into Firestorm. I thought that was a really neat effect. I hope they do that a few more times. That was really cool. And I have a question. I am not an Arrow person. I kind of get the gist. I know who Oliver is. I know about the show. I know who Dark is and what he did to Laurel. But what's the rest of him? Like, does he have superpowers? I get that he's kind of going to be one of their villains this season. And oh my gosh, what a twist that Reverse Flash showed up. That was super cool. So the two of them together clearly are going to cause a problem.
You don't say.
But yeah, I know about Thawne because I've been watching The Flash, with The Flash, of course. But I don't know much about Dark. I wonder if you guys can just give me a little tiny tidbit of what his deal is, like why is he scary? Anyways, that's about all I have. I'm looking forward to hearing the podcast. Super glad to have you guys back, and we'll talk to you next week.
Wow. Well, thanks, Patty Spivot.
Great feedback as always.
Great feedback. I love hearing her voice on this. It's just fun to have her in here with me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, well, you want to tackle her question about Damien Dark?
Sure, and then you can fill in any gaps. So, the quick version of Damien Dark from Arrow last season was he uses magic, and his magic is derived from, it was called a totem. It was basically like this creepy looking head thing that he carried around. I mean, not a real head, it was like a statue or something. And that's where he kind of like derived his mystical powers from. And so he could use, it looked like, for lack of a better way to phrase this, it looked like he was using the Force. So, that's why he's scary, is because he's kind of unstoppable, and he's also a beneficiary of the Lazarus Pit, as they have alluded to in, I think they alluded to that in the episode. But
a little bit, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. So he just has unnaturally long life. He's not really immortal per se, but the same Damien Dark that we see alive in 1942 will eventually show up in 2016, pretty much looking the same. I don't know how much they're going to get into his powers. He just kind of seemed like an evil guy in our premiere episode, and a lot of people didn't enjoy his magical powers on Arrow. So, we'll see what happens.
Well, and I'll add to that. If you remember, he was in season 1 of Legends as well.
Right, he was.
That episode when they were going in to stop the purchase of a nuclear warhead, Damien Dark was there, and was the one trying to buy the weapon, and he recognized that they don't belong there, and that's what started the whole fight, that big fight in that weapons sale. So we've already seen him. You guys already had a taste of him. So to add to what Harley said, the Lazarus Pit is it's like a pit of souls, and when you, I guess, bathe in this pit of souls, it just extends your life. Like Harley said, you get unusually long longevity out of it.
At a price.
At a price, yeah. You get this. We've seen Thea from Arrow. She gets a bloodlust. We've seen Sara have to deal with it in the beginning of our season 1 here. That you get this bloodlust, and you need to kind of feed those souls by killing other people, kind of thing. But it's been under the control of the League of Assassins for hundreds of years, and usually the leader of the League of Assassins has complete control over the pit, and he's the one that uses it, and he lives for a couple hundreds of years. And Damien Dark was like the right-hand man to the leader of the League of Assassins, which I believe was Ra's al Ghul, when Damien Dark was kind of like his right-hand man. So he actually, I don't know if he got to bathe in it, he got to dip in the Lazarus Pit anyway, or he stole it. Do you remember, Harley? Did he steal? Or he snuck in? I can't remember what they said. He got kicked out of the League of Assassins because of what he did, and I believe it was taking what wasn't his, and that was getting power from the pit.
I think so.
As you said, yeah, it's kind of like a skull thing that he carries around, and it's like a statued head, and it looks real creepy, and it connects to some mystical force, and when he's close to it, he can draw the power from it, and yeah, he can throw people around, like you said, force powers. Think of Jedi. He can toss people around, toss objects around, and stop bullets in midair, that kind of thing. So the fact that he can live a long time, and when he faced off against Arrow, Oliver kept shooting arrows at him, and he would just catch the arrows in midair, toss them aside. And he's trained by the League of Assassins, which are like some of the best trained martial artists in the world. That's what makes him scary and deadly. Combine all of that. And you know what happened. He killed Laurel. I showed you that episode of Arrow. He he killed her, and that's why Sarah's upset. And yeah.
Yep. And that's Damien Dark in a nutshell.
What else did she say in her feedback there? She was quite happy with the humor of it all.
Yeah, no, she had a lot of good points. I mean, I think the main thing was that we responded about Dark, but I don't really have anything else on.
Yeah, no, I think she enjoyed it. She liked that. She liked that every character was getting their chance to have a couple quips, a couple one-liners, and you know, the episode just seemed spread out to have a lot of fun, a lighthearted adventure, and I think that's what she enjoyed the most. So it's good.
Yeah,
glad. Hopefully we answered your question. I'm glad to have you back with us. You are after Kelly for most feedback. I know it.
All right, let's move on to
the
next email.
We got one last email, and here it comes from Sidekick Denny. And I'll read this one off. I just spoke to him today at work, so I'm wondering if his thoughts are in his email here. So, hello, Wonder Twins. This premiere definitely brought some exciting and some frustrating moments to start the season off. Seeing the show start off with none other than a cameo with Oliver Queen himself. A historian may be the last person you would expect to join the team, but it'll be interesting to see how he'll grow as a character on us viewers. Interesting that he notices all these altered moments in time that no one else seems to notice or know. Based on searching his name on Google, he has powers. Perhaps we'll see him obtain those powers unless he's secretly hiding them. Yeah, I think, well, we talked a bit about him. I believe he has no power right now, and he will be getting them. And I think me and Harley said we hope to see that origin. That would be cool.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. He goes on, it is also funny that despite having worked together for more than 6 months, they still get into their usual trouble with revealing their powers and technology in the wrong time periods, and Sara and her seductive personality. Almost thought their death was how we were going to see the new team form.
Interesting.
Yeah, I can't argue with you. They still kind of reveal their powers, but my defense for this episode was the fact that the bad guys all pulled out their laser guns first. Our heroes were trying to hide everything still. But once the bad guys started firing laser pistols, there was no point to really. They had to, draw their own weapons to fight back.
Yeah.
Damien Dark and Reverse Flash working together. It'll be interesting to see what they have in store for our Legends and what other villains we'll be seeing in the near future. Yes, well, that's the Legion of Doom, and there's definitely more guys coming.
Oh, yeah, there's some good stuff coming.
But those two together, just as Patty before you said, it is definitely spelling trouble. Big.
Oh, yeah.
What I didn't like about the episode, though, was how it seemed they brought everyone together so quickly and so easily after the time scatter. I think I would have liked it more if the mission to reunite the team was spread out across more episodes. Seemed to rush in that aspect. Ding, ding, ding. Boy, can you tell we were talking at work today?
Definitely. But with only 13 episodes, I mean, this had to be a little rushed.
Yeah.
I agree. It felt rushed. I totally agree.
Yeah. So, but definitely, I totally feel that vibe there. It would have been fun to see them scattered across time for a little bit. Anyway. He finishes off, anyways, I do believe that until we see a body, Rip is probably somehow still alive somewhere. The JSA finally arrives, and we get to see some of the new heroes. Can't wait to see how they tie into this season. Till next time, Sidekick Denny. Awesome. Well, thanks, Denny. Thanks for that nice, thoroughly written out, thoughtful email. We like your opinion. It's cool to have you back.
Oh, yeah. Always good to hear from you. You got some good thoughts.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked most of the episodes. So, all right, Harley, let's finish this off here. How can people get in touch with us with some feedback? Because I know we got some new members, and we would love to hear from you.
Yes, we would. If you would like to join in the discussion, you can submit feedback via email to cybercastfan@gmail.com. That's cybercastfan@gmail.com. And we ask that you submit all feedback by 8 p.m. Eastern on Fridays following the show. You can also join the Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/tomorrowslegends, and you can follow us on Twitter at Cybercast. All of these details and more can be found on our website, tomorrowslegends.libsyn.fm. LIBSYN.com. And you can subscribe in iTunes there, download our episodes, and leave comments about each of the shows. So, and while you're out there in iTunes, go ahead and rate us and leave a review. That helps out the podcast in many ways.
It sure does. And the one thing that we want to add to all of this is we have all our regular listeners, and we've got some new ones. If you like listening to our show, and you like me and Harley, and you've got friends and family that also watch Legends of Tomorrow, and they don't know what a podcast is, introduce them to us. We'd love to say hi. We'd love to include them, grow our family, and, just grow.
Exactly.
Let's have more people. Let's get more perspective. Let's get more views and opinions. We want to reach out. We want to have a nice big family of legend watchers, and
we want to hit 100 people on Facebook.
Yeah, we're so close. What are we at? We're at 93 or something?
I believe it's 93. It was today. So we just need 7 more people, guys. Come on.
7 more people. Help us reach that.
There's 93
pinnacle.
of you just in the Facebook group. There's more than that downloading our shows. So if just 7 more people, the group.
That's a good point you made, because we have 93 Facebook members, but on average, when we look at our download numbers, we have our website actually tracks the statistics.
Mm-hmm.
We average 120 to 140 downloads
per episode.
So there's a lot of people out there listening, and they haven't found the Facebook page yet. So you listeners that haven't, come find us. Join the group.
Join us. We'd love to hear from you.
And if each one of you got just one person to come on board, that we would double our numbers, just like that.
Just like that. That's all it takes.
And then we'd be in the running to catch up to Aero Squad, because I think Aero Squad is like 300 members or something. So
there we go. All right.
Well, Harley, it is good to be back. It was so much fun to get to hang out with you, spend some time again.
Absolutely.
And talk about our show.
Yay, it's back. It's fall. Yay. Happy fall.
Happy fall. Well, I know you need to get going. You've got to get some rest. It's late for you.
It is.
But thank you for sticking it out with me for a very long first episode back.
It was great.
I appreciate that, partner. I know you're tired. You got lots going on with the little one there, so totally appreciate your time.
I know. It's fun. I like doing it. I wouldn't do it.
Well, Legendaires, you guys all take care out there. We'll catch you in a week. And remember, find somebody. Join our team. Join the group.
Become legends.
Become legends. With the Flash.
And Harley Quinn.
I'm out here.
See you later, guys.